If you're looking for affordable land, today I'm going to show you over 45 parcels of land for sale under 50K, as well as a strategy for making money from land that you may not have thought of. I'm Erica. I've helped over 600 people become landowners, and in today's live stream, I'm going to cover some quick property updates, as well as the deal of the day, and then a quick step-by-step guide on how to use Billboards to turn a parcel of vacant land into a cash-flowing asset. And at the end, there'll be a fact of the day and a free gift for everyone who joined. So just to start, again, my name is Erica. My company is Gokche Capital. I buy and sell vacant land. My website's gokchecapital.com. And you can find all of our properties by clicking Buy Land or going to land.gokcap.com. Most of our properties are for sale by owner. That means my company does own them, and I am selling them myself. And you can see the full map here. We do buy and sell properties across the U.S. Right now, we have a number of properties in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, New York, New Mexico, Colorado, and Oregon. And in the upcoming days, we are going to be bringing more properties to market in Colorado and New Mexico. So keep an eye out for that. Now, below the map, you'll see a table, which gives you a little more information on each property. And it also tells you whether the property is on hold or available, and if the property is one of our most viewed properties. So for a few quick updates here, our Gilmer County, Georgia property is one of our most viewed properties. Our Burke County property in North Carolina did just go on hold, as did our property in Lee County, Florida. Florida's been going quickly, I should say, and we're hoping to bring some more properties to market in Florida because it does seem to be very popular. And for the other two most viewed properties, we are still, they're actually today both of our South Carolina properties. So that's interesting to me. We will hopefully be acquiring 3 more properties in the same county a few weeks from now. So keep an eye out for those, but these seem to be very popular lots. If you're interested in South Carolina, check them out. But for today's deal of the day, I am actually going to cover one of our New York properties, 398 Oneida 2. This is a property in Oneida County, as the name would suggest. And I'm going to cover it because it seemed like a property where potentially you could use it as a billboard cash flow play, since we're going to be talking about making money from land with billboards later. So this is 1.4 acres in Oneida County. This is for sale by owner, which means that we do offer owner financing. Those terms will be tailored to what works for you. You can also hold the property while you do your research. That'll take it off market. No one will be able to buy it. And that hold fee does get applied to your purchase price if you move forward with the purchase within 30 days. The hold fee can also be transferred to another property if after your research you find that a different property works better for you. But again, you have to buy within 30 days. Now, Oneida County, this is a property just outside of the town of Rome, which is near Oneida Lake, not too far from Lake Ontario and not too far from Syracuse and Utica. So just for context on the location. Now I said I was highlighting this one because I'm going to use it as a case study for billboards. I'm not guaranteeing you can use this property to make money from land with a billboard, but it seemed like the best case study from our current inventory. And I say that because it is off of, or visible from a larger road. And we do have satellite images. So you can see here, here's the main road. It also does have access off of a more suburban road. There's a residential area nearby. Some beautiful photos here. and it is zoned agricultural, which I'll get into why that matters in our case study segment. But the current cash price is $17,997 plus the document fee. And of course, we do offer owner financing as well. If you're interested in owner financing, just let us know what kind of down payment and monthly payment will work with your budget, and we will help you figure out an owner financing setup that will make this lot affordable for you and won't break the bank. I'll also say there, because this is owner financing, we don't have a minimum credit score requirement, so don't worry if your credit is less than stellar. All right, so I wanted to highlight this property because I wanted to use it as part of the case study for today's main topic, which is how to make money from land using billboards. Billboards, yes. So when we're talking about billboards, the first thing you should keep in mind is that it's kind of like fishing. You can't drop a line in an empty pond and expect dinner. Same thing with billboards. Traffic counts are your fish, no cars, no eyeballs, no money. So the single most important thing if you want to buy land and make money from it using a billboard is traffic count. You want eyeballs on your property. The second most important thing is zoning, because many areas aren't going to allow billboards. So let's look at this property. This is in the town of Rome. So the first thing we would do is check, does the town of Rome allow billboards in this zoning designation? This is zoned agricultural. Now I pulled up the zoning ordinance for the town of Rome, but the easiest way to do this research is simply to call the local code enforcement officer or planning and zoning department. So here's their agricultural zoning designation, all the various uses. We'll scroll down to billboards and you'll see that they are allowed in this district with a special use permit. Of course, you should call them to confirm this as well. But in this instance, it does appear like there may be a path to put a billboard on the property. The next thing you'd want to look at is traffic count, of course, because as I was just saying, it's not enough that billboards are allowed. You need to have those fish, those eyes, to make sure that people will be looking at the billboard if you're going to put it up. Otherwise, no one's going to pay you to put one up on your property. So this is the New York State Department of Transportation, GIS. They actually do have annual average daily traffic counts on this GIS. So here's the main road the property is off of, and you can pull up its AADT, annual average daily traffic, and that's here about 1,600, we should say. So is that good or bad? Well, what we're looking at here is the average number of vehicles that pass a location on an average day. For a billboard to be successful, hi, Abby. For a billboard to be successful, you want to make sure that there is enough traffic for the advertiser to make money. So we're looking at a minimum threshold of, say, 5,000 to 10,000 AADT. Now, up here on this portion of the road, we're hitting that threshold at 6,500 or so. And then as you get further into the town of Rome, you're seeing those AADT numbers get up to the minimum threshold. But just for context, if you're really looking to make money from land with a billboard, spectacular numbers would be over 50,000 average annual views. Average daily views, I should say, or less stellar, but still very strong, 15 to 30,000. Yeah, well, Javi, that's another good point. Maybe you aren't looking to lease the land, you just want to use it as free advertising for your own business. So that's a creative strategy if you're already a business owner. Buy some vacant land and advertise your own business on that land. It may actually be cheaper. So what zoning do you have to look for? So I had just pulled up on our case study property in Oneida County. This one is zoned agricultural, which does appear, you'd have to confirm with the town, but it does appear to allow billboards. So you'd want to look for the either like commercial zoning. If we look at, there are actually not many zoning designations in this particular town. It would just be agricultural, and these two, which I think are both, commercial and industrial. So commercial, industrial, agricultural, possibly might be the designations that would work for this, or if there's no zoning, that would work as well. So here's example traffic counts. The other thing to keep in mind is, say you do have enough eyes and you're close to a major road and zoning actually allows it. Also just keep in mind that there might be other more specific zoning regulations that are going to, and yes, how much does it cost to put up a build-out? Well, so I'm going to get into the numbers in a second, but in this case, we're talking about leasing the land for putting up a billboard, so you wouldn't be paying anything. You would be leasing your land out to a company that's then an advertising company. So the question is going to be how much will they pay you annually to lease your land? So just quickly on zoning, though, there might be some other nuances to zoning that, depending on the shape and size of your property, could impact whether you can put up a billboard. And you are going to have potentially both state and city regulations. So in this instance, New York State has some regulations around billboards that may be more or less restrictive than the city. So look at both state and city. Altogether here, the state is saying you can have a maximum sized billboard of 1,200 square feet. The height maximum is 30 feet, length maximum is 60 feet. And it must be at least 660 feet from the edge of a right-of-way. So these are specific regulations, but if you have a very small parcel of land, that could impact whether it's actually feasible to put a billboard up. And then for context, you can also look through the city's zoning ordinance. The city here does have some regulations on billboards. They have to be at least 500 feet apart. So in this case, you'd want to look at the neighboring properties and make sure someone hasn't put up a billboard within 500 feet. If they have, you probably won't be able to put up a new one. Also, you can't be within 200 feet of a residential dwelling, school, cultural facility, all of these. So you'd want to look at that as well. Make sure that you're not too close to a nearby building. And here, you can't exceed 400 square feet in sign area. So these are some little things you want to research as well. Can you do it yourself setup? Probably. If you're trying to just advertise for your own business, yeah, I would think you could build your own sign as long as you follow all zoning regulations. You just want to you'd have to then do the construction yourself. So there will be usually a permitting process you'll have to go through, and you'd want to contact the department. Hi, Zaphael. Just had septic tank pumped out. Finding the lid wasn't fun, but actually did. You pumped it yourself, or I hope you got someone to help you with that. I know finding the lid can be like a little bit of a treasure hunt. You have to like get the stick and kind of poke around, right? So, but yes, if you did want to build your own billboard, you would think of it like a small development project. You'd have to go through the permitting process and design it so that it follows all the local regulations. So you definitely want to call the local planning department, figure out what all those regulations are, and design it so it meets those, and then go through the permitting process. No, I got a truck out here. That's good. Yeah, septic systems can be a little bit of a pain, but it should should have been a fairly easy process, right? So let's see. What about counties with no zoning there? You don't have to worry about billboard regulations, right? Generally, I would say yes. But again, states like we saw here with New York State does have some blanket state regulations around billboards. Usually it's this state DOT department. So you would want to, even if there's no zoning at the county or town level, you still want to then check with the state to make sure there isn't a permitting process through the state, usually again through the State Department of Transportation. You might have to do, meet some regulations there and get a permit from them as well, like in Valencia County, New Mexico. Yeah. So yeah, you just want to check with the state as well. And then you also want to be near a road that does actually have some traffic. Otherwise, there's no point in trying to get a billboard out there. All right. But in this case, so Abby, you were talking about trying to build your own billboard. Yep, very quick process. If the local government doesn't like it, they might pass regulations. Always good to check, yeah. So the state usually should have a fairly easy process. And as Raphael was saying, it's always possible that even if your local jurisdiction, like the county or the town, doesn't yet have any regulations, if they find out, if you're like the first person who's trying to bring in a billboard, they find out about it and they don't like it, they might go ahead and pass regulations. So keep that in mind. Do you want to get a billboard to promote your free land giveaway? Sure, why not? We could do that. I could think of other uses for our marketing funds, but we could try that out. And that is a good point. We're going to have to highlight our free land giveaway as soon as it is finalized. That should be in the next couple days, so keep a lookout for that. We'll be bringing it back very soon. I know everyone really liked the free land giveaway. Maybe we'll get a billboard to promote it too. But yes, so here I wasn't actually talking about building your own billboard. I was just talking about leasing your land to a company that would install the billboard, which would be the easiest way to make money from land using a billboard. And in that case, there are some big companies like Outfront and Lamar that handle billboards. So ideally, you would go through a company like this and they would handle the whole process for you. And then you would just get an annual lease. Similar to, we talked about like leasing your land for a wind farm or solar farm. It's similar process there. You don't have to do much. You're just leasing out your land and you're getting the check. But as with any lease agreement, you'd want to have the lease reviewed by an attorney and make sure that you're fully protected. Like if they go bankrupt or at the end of the lease, they will be responsible for taking the billboard down. I kind of hate some billboards. Can be distracting while driving, especially if they have, yeah. I actually kind of agree. There's some billboards that are so like visually compelling, it takes your eyes off driving and doesn't always feel so safe. That's true. What about like a horizontal billboard? You could write it on land so people in the plains overhead could read it. Is that still a billboard? I don't think per zoning that would be considered a billboard since it wouldn't be tall. But also, those would have to be some pretty big letters. I'm not sure how effective of an advertising strategy that would be. But if you're stuck on a desert island, you could do that. So yeah, in this case, when you're leasing your land for a billboard, make sure you get the lease reviewed by an attorney, that if the company goes bankrupt or at the end of the lease, the company is responsible for taking it down and returning the land to its original condition. And they have LED billboards that are like TVs. They do. I haven't actually seen too many of them on the highway, but I've definitely seen them all over cities. They are very distracting, which is probably why people buy them. I'm sure they're more effective. But so if you're leasing your land for a billboard, how much could you expect to make? It's gonna vary from location to location. It will be dependent on how many views your land is expected to get, or your billboard will be expected to get. But for example, here we are looking at New York. Here are some of the rates. You can see there's a wide range depending on annual daily view counts, annual average daily view counts. So it can be a wide range, but if you're in a little more rural area where you're not getting a crazy number of views, you're probably looking at $4,000 to $5,000 a month. So again, it's not going to be a life-changing amount of money, but that is a fair amount. It could go a long way to helping offset daily expenditures, certainly could offset the cost of the land itself and the property taxes. And it is, if you're not going to use the land yourself in the near future and you weren't planning to, it's a fairly low cost, low effort way to make some money from land. As long as, again, you have the lease reviewed and you make sure that you're fully protected and you're not going to be stuck with the cost of taking down that billboard should something happen, or at the end of the lease term, you're not going to be stuck with that cost. But yeah, here you can look at different rates for different sizes. Smaller billboards are much less than the larger ones, obviously. So you can get a sense here of how much. And here's an interesting fact. This is actually much smaller than I thought it would be, but in New York, there's an estimated 6,000 billboards, which seems very small to me. That I don't know how that could be correct. And the other interesting fact that I had for today is that the out-of-home advertising, which includes billboards, but it also includes other like outdoor advertising, street furniture, things like that, is still over $9 billion. I would have thought that billboards were becoming somewhat obsolete given that we're all on the internet these days, but they're still a big industry and there's still a fair amount of money to be made from them. So it is a strategy that you can use with vacant land. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. The landowner probably is not going to get all of that. So let's see for like the Oneida County what you could actually be expected to pocket. And I believe that number I calculated was I'll just check with ChatGPT as well, because the companies don't. So again, it really depends on how much traffic you're getting. It could be in a high traffic area up to 2,000 per month, but if it's like a rural road where there's not too much traffic, it's not going to be that much. Yeah, maybe 500 per month, even 100 per month. So the amount will vary depending on traffic counts, location, all of that. But again, yeah, you're not looking at life-changing amounts of money with a billboard. It would just be some supplemental income to help offset the cost of the land, your daily necessities, things like that. But on the flip side, you don't have to do all that much to get that money. You just need to make your land available for the billboard. But as I've said, make sure that if you do sign a lease to lease your land for a billboard, that you have it reviewed by an attorney and you make sure that you're protected and that your land is protected and will be returned to its original condition when the billboard comes down. So that is it for billboards. And I used our Oneida County property as an example. Most of our properties are rural, so billboards might not be the best option on a more rural property. But, if there's some traffic nearby, you could look into that. So I chose our Oneida County property as a case study. Maybe some of our North Carolina properties would work as well. I don't know about New Mexico, Abby. Some of those properties are pretty rural. But anyway, if you want to see all of our properties, you can go to land.gocap.com. We do have all our properties on a map here. And as I said, we're going to be getting more properties in Castilla County and New Mexico very soon. Actually, I think we just listed 2 new properties in New Mexico. They're down at the bottom here in Valencia and Socorro County. So check those out if you're interested in New Mexico. And then tomorrow, and our free gift, of course, 17 Simple Ways to Generate Income from Land in 2025. There'll be a link to that in the description and the pinned comments. And for anyone who's interested in land and joined the live stream today or is watching it a little bit later today, there is a discount code LiveNY200 for $200 off our New York properties. That's valid until midnight tonight. Just check out a property, either buy or hold it, and put in the coupon code. The coupon would apply if you hold the property as well. So there's that. And then tomorrow I'll be back here at 2 p.m. to talk more about how to make money from land. And then, Zaphael, you're saying, also make sure the lawyer has experience with billboard type contracts. Not all lawyers are created equal. That's very true. You do want, actually, that's a good point. In general, if you ever have to hire an attorney, one good question to ask as you're getting different quotes is, how many cases have you taken that are similar to my case? Because you want someone who has experience with what you're looking for help with. In this case, you'd want someone who has reviewed billboard contracts before. Also, when is the free land giveaway coming out? Well, hopefully in a day or two. Probably not tomorrow, but maybe Thursday. We'll definitely announce it on this live stream, though. And Zaphael, you're saying, if you search YouTube, there was a guy who put a welcome to some city sign outside an airport, but it was the wrong city to prank people. He actually paid money to do that. He must have been doing well if he's willing to spend a couple $1,000 a month just to prank people. But maybe if he did that, if he put up reactions on YouTube, he'd get enough ad income from YouTube to offset that. Yeah. That's a funny case study. So, and if anyone has any topics they would like me to cover, just let me know. If not, we'll continue our series on how to make money from land tomorrow. And thank you everyone for joining. If you are interested in land, you can go to land.gocap.com. And yes, Abby, we will be releasing our free land giveaway very soon. So keep an eye out for that as well. I know everyone really enjoyed it when we last had our free land giveaway. So Zaphael, thank you as always for joining. I hope I'll see you again tomorrow. And thank you to everyone else who watched.